I've traveled around the world and there are some experiences that changed my perspective towards humanity, and I want to share those in these videos. First time that I went to India, I went to Mumbai first. That was my first stop, and I was making a documentary at the time, the place I call home. Even though India is in my ethnicity, I'd never been there before, so I had a general understanding of what India was going to be like because I basically grew up in Europe my whole life. But it's very different to actually be there and to experience it for yourself for the first time. I think the first shock that I really experienced was being around people that looked like me, like a lot of people that looked like me, because I'd never experienced that before in my life. It was actually quite a surreal experience because for the first time in my life, I didn't stand out. And if you grow up in the West, like standing out is not always a good thing if you're a person of color because there's a lot of racism here and it's just how society is built, unfortunately. But it was a very weird experience because for the first time, no one really seemed to notice me, which I found very strange, but also very freeing at the same time. So on one of the first days in India and Mumbai, I started to film for my documentary with my friends, and we went all around Mumbai, but especially South Mumbai. We're in Kolaba, Kalagora, like that area. It was really amazing. Like we're like playing cricket with children on the streets. We saw like a movie production happening. Like there's a lot of stuff that happened. We went to markets and it was just very fun. This was also the first time that I met these friends because one of them was a cousin of one of my other friends from the UK that I met before. The other one was a friend from Canada and I had never met her before in my life, but we had been following each other for years on social media. So it was a very surreal experience to like work with them and like meet them. Because I'd never met them before. But it was honestly amazing. We walked around a lot. We did a lot of filming. We did a lot of chatting. We just enjoyed like Mumbai. But before that, for the first couple of days, I only used Uber to get around, and I used Uber on my phone, obviously. And because I was with locals as well, they decided to hail a taxi on the streets because we had to go to the Taj Palace Hotel. That was close by, but it was a bit too far to walk. And they decided to hail a taxi on the streets. And because we were filming the whole day, we were kind of like in a euphoric state, and we were kind of distracted as well. And we're just like super happy to have finished filming, and we're like, okay, we're gonna enjoy now and we can go to Taj Palace and splurge a little bit to just celebrate this moment. But because I normally book taxis with my phone with Uber, I forgot that my phone was like with me and I put it next to me on the seat of the taxi. But this taxi was quite small, and I think we're sitting with 4 people in the back and 1 person in the front, and my phone was next to me, but I also was carrying like very heavy camera equipment, like a stabilizer and camera and whatever. Plus it was also quite warm, and the area around the Taj Palace Hotel is very, very crowded. So when you get out of the taxi, you basically have to be fast because people are honking and like people want to get through, and you literally have like a second or 2 seconds to just hop out of the car and just go wherever you have to go because it's so busy. So we did. We got out of the car and then we started walking towards the Taj Palace Hotel. And it was super crowded, but we made it to the Taj Palace Hotel. But because of the terrorist attacks that happened in 2017, I believe, in the Taj Palace Hotel, where people stormed the hotel and then they started shooting people. They started to put metal detectors in front of hotels and big buildings in India. So whenever you go through the entry of a hotel, you have to go through metal detectors first. And especially the Taj Hotel, the security is very strict. So basically you put all your stuff in a basket and then they go through the metal detector and then you can pick it up on the other side. But I put my camera and my stabilizer and stuff on the tray, and then I started to search for my phone to put it there as well. And I started to realize that I left my phone in this man's taxi. And I first started to panic, and everyone in the line was also waiting. And I was like, oh my God, my phone. And this was one of the first days that I was in India, and everything was on my phone. All my bookings, all my credit cards, like everything that I could use to like navigate and to travel was on my phone. So I told my friend, who was a local from Mumbai, like, oh my God, I think I lost my phone, or I think I forgot my phone in the cab. And they started running, like he and his friend, they started running towards where the guy dropped us off in the taxi. But you have to imagine that this is not a normal place where you can just run. Like this is like crowded, like there's seas of people that are looking and walking. And this was around sunset. So that's the time when it's like the most crowded around this area. So they started running and I started to panic. I'm like, oh my God, if I lose my phone now on one of the first days in India, how am I going to travel? Because I was planning to stay in India, and I was planning to go to India and Pakistan for literally like 2 months almost. And I was like, oh my God, if I lose everything now, I will not have a phone for 2 months. How am I going to do that? And blah, blah, blah. I just arrived in India and this is already happening. And surprisingly, the weirdest thing happened, and the thing that I did not expect, and this honestly altered my perspective on humanity and what I thought initially about safety and stuff like that because of how the West makes us perceive it. If this would have happened in the Netherlands, I can tell you that my phone would have been stolen. I would not have gotten my phone back. But apparently my friends tried to call my phone, and then the guy picked up in the taxi. He's like, I'm gonna drive back and I'm gonna give you back the phone. And he did. He drove back to the place where he dropped us off, and he gave the phone to my friends. He was like, yeah, you forgot your phone. Please make sure that you don't forget it anymore because someone else might not give it back. And we went inside and they came back maybe like 15 minutes later with my phone. phone, and yeah, I was just super surprised because I did not expect to get my phone back, and especially in a place like India, I was like, my phone is gonna get stolen, because this is also, imagine, this is a very new iPhone. This iPhone was maybe like 900 euros, so this may be like 3 times the salary of this guy. Could have easily like taken it and not given it back, because also he didn't like put it on Uber, so we could not track him or anything. I'm gonna make more of these stories about my experiences on travels that really altered my perspective on traveling and about humanity. Stay curious and stay traveling.